Welcome. Today we're going to talk about the business value, strategies, models, principles for enterprise and business level agility. Uh, Definitely visit my website to peruse my briefings on a variety of topics like ROI, organizational change, as well as some of my newer videos on the scaled agile frameworks, DevOps, and even some of my detailed white papers on how to apply this to very, very large organizations. I've been in the information technology field for the better part of 35 years, mostly in the public sector. My background is in computer science and information systems, mostly on large government projects like NASA's space station, fighter jets, missiles, satellite constellations, and such. Um, I wrote the first textbooks on the ROI of CMMI as well as agile methods. Let's begin with a popular quote by former boxer Mike Tyson. He said, "Everyone has a plan till they get punched in the mouth." His plan was to punch his opponents as hard as he could, and this strategy worked out well for him. He won many fights using this particular technique. Well, this is a metaphor for modern businesses, many of which have plans that don't survive very long in the marketplace. So how they respond when their initial plans do not succeed is a key to their success or failure. Let's examine a few more related quotes on the necessity for modern businesses to be adaptable to change. Uh, George Patton said, "A good plan violently executed today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow." Here's sort of an anti-pattern or a characteristic of firms that are not adaptable. The herd instinct among forecasters makes sheep look like independent thinkers. Today's businesses are faced with unprecedented challenges like globalization, demanding customers, system complexity, the increasing rate of information technology change, obsolete technology and skills, capital-intensive legacy systems, poor IT security. But the killers, obviously, long lead and cycle times, which hinder our ability to adapt our business plans and survive a flurry of punches from Mike Tyson and survive. Many of today's business and technology leaders have not come to the realization that the 21st century is not like the last 100 years. There are nearly 7 billion people on the planet, most of whom are connected to one another on the internet. Therefore, today's businesses must develop products and services for billions of simultaneous users. Therefore, lead time becomes critical to scaling their competitiveness to the global market. Another way of saying the same thing is the Internet of Things, which is a dinosaur killer. That is, it's an extinction level event with billions of devices on the internet, billions of human beings interacting with one another. Today's businesses must develop products and services for billions of simultaneous users, and few are poised to do this successfully. Amazon, Google, Yahoo, uh, Facebook. If you can't do that, you can't survive in the 21st century. With respect to the Internet of Things, let's hearken to Newton's third law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Even futurist Ray Kurzweil predicted this 20 years ago that the exponential rate of technology change would have a devastating impact on modern businesses. He called that the singularity or event horizon upon which mass business failure would ensue, and we see that in the business statistics over the last 20 years. A few early visionaries at the Project Management Institute asked business leaders why they wanted to become more agile. And they said, well, they wanted to give faster responses to changing market conditions. They wanted to be more efficient. They wanted to improve customer satisfaction. They wanted to improve revenues and profits. A British study asked, well, how do we go about doing that? Well, they said we need to speed up our decision making. We need flexible management teams. We need to be decentralized and flatter. We need to be leaner. We need to have a flexible infrastructure. That leads us to a simple definition of business agility, which is to be able to respond to change in order to succeed, to quickly reprioritize when we sense a new change, and to give a fast response to that change through intensive customer and market interaction, and eat the elephant one bite at a time using evolutionary, incremental, and iterative delivery methods in order to increase our business value. PricewaterhouseCoopers said that the essence of business agility was having an agile culture, having agile leaders, agile innovation, even agile customer focus, but also agile business operations, but more importantly, to link the strategy to the business operations so that they could iterate, do strategic planning and increase their speed and their adaptability in lockstep, in unison, and run together. Business agility is a multi-dimensional construct, perhaps one of the most misunderstood concepts. It's not just enough to have agile leaders or an agile strategy, but every element of the organization must be agile, from its change to its acquisition to its strategy, its program management, its delivery processes, its tools, its technologies, and its infrastructure itself. Many people still believe that business agility came from 1990s era computer programmers who are too lazy to document their code, but nothing could be further from the truth. Business agility has a long and storied history. It comes from concepts like evolutionary biology and complex adaptive systems, even the project management systems and software engineering world. But more importantly, it comes from the flexible manufacturing operations research area. Around 1990, flexible manufacturing leaders recognized the necessity to apply their concepts to the business itself, thus beginning a revolution in concepts like structured chaos, judo strategy, adaptive enterprises, agile organizations, and even the classic good to great by Jim Collins. And even holacracy as we see today, but in 2018, business agility is smoking hot. Let's examine some of the business agility definitions from the last 20 years. Here's a classic by Shona Brown and Kathleen Eisenhart: to react responsibly. That is, anticipate change, right? Speed up your operations in order to compete. Probe and sense and ask what your customer needs. Mike Tyson would like this one: to strike with strength and speed, to learn, adapt, and innovate. But I think a key here is to anticipate uncertainty and be ready to change. Let's do a deep dive of business agility attributes from the last 20 years. Well, they said we had to have agile strategies and agile cultures and agile processes and agile products and services, agile technologies, agile IT, agile organizations, agile capital infrastructures. But they were heavily influenced by Michael Porter, a Harvard economist, who said that the only thing that mattered was having an agile strategy, and the rest of us were just cogs in the wheel that can be fired at will. Translating the matrix from the previous slide into a visual model, we see the elements of business agility emerging from having an agile strategy and strategic objectives, agile culture and leadership team, agile and lean processes, agile products and services, agile technologies within those products and services, an agile IT infrastructure, a flatter organizational design, and obviously a virtual capital infrastructure versus a physical one. What does it mean to have strategic agility? Well, it means that you have to have clear goals and objectives, right? Very, very broad. You have to do market experiments in order to determine what the market wants. You have to have an elastic strategy that flexes with those objectives. You have to speed up your cycle times. You have to be able to change to new products and services. You have to have a sharp customer focus, and you really, really have to focus on internal and external relationships. What does it mean to have cultural agility? Well, it means to have agile leaders who are not only visionaries, but servant leaders that empower people to make decisions. You have to have a talented organization. You have to have a clear sense of purpose and let your people actually contribute to that purpose. Have to be very collaborative, not stovepipe. Lots of communication, lots of visualization, lots of soft skills, lots of bottom-up decision making, and just continuous improvement and mastery. What does it mean to have process agility? Well, it means to have a single integrated lean and agile system that links the strategy and the operation based on principles of continuous improvement, incremental and iterative development, working software and systems over documentation and heavyweight project plans. Very lightweight but disciplined, just continuously improving and lots of automation in order to eliminate the human error. What does product and service agility means? Well, it means fewer products so that you can focus your resources, smaller so that you can speed up your cycle times, more modular, less dependencies, not more dependencies, flexible so they can adapt to changing market conditions, and reconfigurable, less expensive, and short-term throwaway prototypes. What does it mean to have technology agility? Well, it means the underlying fabric to your products and services has to be more flexible and adaptable to change. Less hardware and more software. Can't say that enough. Open source software instead of homegrown. Microservices instead of monolithic. Commercial versus custom. Reusable. Use commercial cloud computing services. Go towards mobile platforms. What does it mean to have IT infrastructure agility? Well, it means to have a small intranet footprint instead of a $100 million or $1 billion custom homegrown footprint. Rely more on outsourced internet services. Use more commercial texting, email, and even mobile phone communications instead of custom workflow or reporting systems. Use more video, webinars, Skype. Use more commercial workflow services. Now we're getting into the heart of business agility or organizational design agility. Smaller, better, faster, cheaper is the word. Narrow, the smallest possible organizational design possible. Flatter, less organizational hierarchy. Loosely networked cooperating teams. Organic, self-organizing, not a lot of rules. Cross-functional cooperation. Lots of teamwork, light governance, not heavy governance. Now we're deep into the heart of business agility in terms of capital infrastructure agility, virtual instead of physical, telepresence, let your employees work from wherever they would like to, outsource, fewer permanent employee, offshore, right sizing, right shoring, use global resources, public shared spaces, leased temporary spaces instead of permanent multi-million-dollar front offices your customers will never see. Let's recap everything we've said about business agility up until this point. It's a multi-dimensional construct that goes well beyond strategic planning or strategic growth that the Western Hemisphere has focused on for the last century, directly contributing to its decline. Business agility instead is an evolution of strategic agility, cultural agility, process agility, product and service agility, technology agility, IT infrastructure agility, organization design agility, and even capital infrastructure agility. You don't need to hire a Big Six consulting firm with Ivy League educated MBAs in order to measure your business agility. Just go to my website and grab this caveat diagram, which would help you measure your business agility in terms of these 8 major factors of strategic agility, culture agility, process agility, product and service agility, technology, IT infrastructure, organization design, and even capital infrastructure agility to instantly visualize your strengths and weaknesses. That being said, let's examine some of the key measures of business agility. Obviously, lead time and cycle time are the 2 big ones. Lead time is how long it takes you to begin addressing a key customer need. Cycle time is how long it takes you to actually finish addressing that need. The longer the lead and cycle time, the more expensive and dissatisfied your customers are. And the shorter your lead times and cycle times, the more agile you are so that you can continuously improve and increase your revenues and profitability. In the 21st century, more and more public and private sector organizations want to measure their strategic and operational effectiveness. In the private sector, it might be about how quickly we can bring products and services to market to increase profits. In the public sector, it might be about increasing mission efficiency and effectiveness. In the private sector, it might be about reducing cost of quality and increasing delivery speed. In the public sector, it might be about increasing delivery order quantities, morale, and even governance speed. Other than wildly successful global dot-coms like Google, Amazon, and Yahoo, two shining examples of business agility in the 21st century are clearly the open source software community and the University of Maryland University College. In terms of open source, tens of millions of programmers working from home produce billions of lines of code each year with commercial grade quality. In terms of UMUC, they serve nearly 90,000 students, grant nearly 12,000 degrees each year, and have an extremely low carbon footprint. There are many shining examples of business agility in the public sector as more government agencies are outsourcing their data centers to commercial facilities, leasing commercial facilities themselves, using smaller, flatter workforces, using more temporary subcontracted workforces, more cross-community collaboration, less buyer-supplier legalism, and more lean and agile contracts, and more reliance on commercial outsourced analytic data. According to a recent Project Management Institute study, organizations with high levels of business agility are twice as likely to achieve strategic objectives, 3 times more profitable, have twice as much alignment. Their employees are 2 times more engaged. They're 4 times more likely to use well-integrated lean and agile portfolio management methodologies at the portfolio program and project level, and their projects are 5 times more likely to realize their benefits. According to an early MIT study, organizations with high levels of business agility have 6% better earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation, 4% better return on equity, 8% better return on assets, 14% better return on investment. They have 36% better earnings and 12% better revenue. According to the same MIT study, organizations with high levels of business agility outperform their non-agile counterparts by almost 3 to 1 each year in terms of economic value added, return on capital, and return on equity. And over a 5-year period, it's almost 2 to 1. In terms of earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation, they outperform their non-agile counterparts 2 to 1 each year, and by 33% over a 5-year period. And over a 5-year period, have better revenues and better earnings per share. The top 500 U.S. electronic commerce firms are a special case of business agility who outpace their traditional brick and mortar or manufacturing counterparts in the United States by 2 to 8 times each year because of their low capital infrastructure footprint and their heavy reliance on software and information technology services, and they often experience double-digit economic growth each year. Here are 2 interesting studies in terms of business agility at both the domestic and international level. In the United States alone, we've seen the demand for business agility professionals grow by nearly 2 orders of magnitude. And the international scene, countries that rely more heavily on producing information technology products and services, particularly software, have better gross domestic product as opposed to their manufacturing and agricultural counterparts. Here's the results of a brand new study on business agilities by CA Technologies showing that only 12% of organizations are addressing principles of business agility from top to bottom, while 42% are at least trying and 30% are not even trying at all. This is very consistent with early studies that demonstrated that only the global dot-coms like Google, Amazon, and Yahoo would be able to compete in the 21st century, and warned all other firms just to stay away and go home. The results of the CA technology study we saw on the last slide are very, very similar to a 2-year-old McKinsey & Company study, which showed that only 12% of organizations in their study showed principles of business agility from top to bottom. Startups were a little bit more agile than incumbents, but 14% were trapped and 8% were sort of hopeless, and the rest of us were just sort of stuck in the middle. Let's go ahead and summarize this overview of business agility. Agility isn't just for coding cowboys or programmers who are too lazy to document their code. It's been around for a long time, and it's rooted in a lot of rich theoretical traditions. Lean and agile paradigms are at the root of business agility, and it's clearly not just a means of putting lipstick on a pig. The key is to make the entire organization agile. Sorry, Michael Porter, it's not just about strategy, but more importantly, true business agility is by competing with software versus hardware. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation on business agility. Please visit my website, davidfrico.com, to get all of my Lean and Agile briefings, all of my videos, and my white papers on how to apply these principles in the public and private sector to extremely complex domains. Thanks again.